All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is my final episode from Jindal Global Law School. In fact, for people who have been watching this, they sort of can relate that the blur background has my Jindal sort of a room in the background. 5 years ago, like when the world paused, I pressed play on something new. The pandemic had sort of locked us inside, but then Jindal Global Law School gave this opening for me, essentially opened a door in the sense that one that led into the world of law. And that moment, as strange as it was, became like the beginning of everything for me. Amid the chaos, the uncertainty, a thought took root. What if like legal education could feel alive? And what if we could bridge the gap between theory and practice? And I mean, I was exactly saying the same thing to Professor Himakshi, who's here with us right now. And I'll introduce her. We'll do the formal round of introductions. You won't break the tradition. But yeah, what if we could bridge the gap between theory and practice, between lectures and lived experience? And I think that's how just Open Floor with Nishank was born. And for me, it wasn't just a show. For me, it became more like a journey to bring stories, insights, and raw truths from the world of law to every aspiring student out there. And now, as my association with JGLS comes to a heartfelt close, I feel it's time for like one last episode, one final chapter. And that does not mean the end of Open Floor with Nishank. It's just my association with Jindal that comes to an end. And who better to close it with than someone who carries the spirit of both the courtroom and the classroom, Professor Himakshi Alaria. Uh, Professor, we had once planned to end season three with a practitioner and alum. I was just discussing that with you. But then came a name that sort of for me needed no second thought, right? Because sometimes one person brings you both. In the literal heat that is surrounding us right now, Professor Himakshi Alaria brings both the fire of advocacy and the warmth of academia. For the formal round of introductions, Himakshi Lari is not just a professor at Jindal Global Law School. She's a storyteller in her own right through her arguments, her writing, and her teaching. After completing her BA LLB from the University of Rajasthan, she dove headfirst into litigation, practicing before the Rajasthan High Court and tribunals. During the pandemic, when most stayed home, she was in court fighting for food grain allocations under the National Food Security Act and raising her voice for women under the POSH Act when local committees failed them. In 2022, she was awarded the Rajiv Gandhi Scholarship for Academic Excellence and went on to pursue her LLM in Criminal Justice from Queen Mary University of London. Today, I think for the show, she brings the journey to a full circle. As an assistant lecturer at JGLS, shaping the minds of tomorrow with the heart of someone who's lived what she teaches. For me, this episode is more than a farewell. It's a celebration of resilience, purpose, and coming home to where it all began. Let's welcome, with all the warmth she deserves, Professor Himakshi Alaria. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Nishank, for a lovely introduction. It's a pleasure to be here. Congratulations for graduating with flying colors from Jindal Global Law School. I'm sure you've been an impeccable student. It was a pleasure to be interacting with you inside the classroom, outside the classrooms. I don't really think I needed that fancy introduction, but thank you so much for your kind words.
Okay, I like the fact that you praised me in the starting only because generally most of the guests that come in, I ask this question towards the end that what is your thought about the show? And that is the part wherein they say all those fancy and good things about the show. No one generally talks about me individually, but I like the fact that you mentioned it out right there. No, ma'am, in general, thank you. All jokes apart. Uh, I mean, to begin with, let us get a little bit into your journey, but also to the fact that an academic semester is coming to an end. Like for us it is, I mean, the end of law school for a lot of us, but apart from just like let's say our batch, every academic semester in the mind of a professor, how does it feel? You get associated with a bunch of students every semester, a new bunch of students are allotted, and then to see them go through, especially, I mean, with our batch, it's like you've been given the graduating batch, to say so. How does it feel at the end of an academic semester is coming to an end? I mean, it's not obviously the same feeling, but yeah, obviously, what do you feel about it?
Oh, I feel like chutti. Yeah, if I were to be very candid and very honest, after every semester, once you're done with your internal gradings, once you're done with your submissions and your assessments and everything, I think the teaching faculty also feels as much relieved as the students, to be honest, They feel they have their own plans of vacations, etc.
Yeah.
Be it the spring semester or the fall semester. So I think right after when I was done winding up my semester, it was a feeling of, oh yeah, summer vacations or chutti. To answer your question in terms of what does it feel when you've been assigned a bunch of students, and then see those students going through regular semester practice and exercises, be it their internal assessments, classroom atmosphere, and then eventually, it's especially when it's a graduating batch, there's a very seldom possibility that you'll ever bump into those students again. So it sort of I sort of reminisced as to how I felt when I was graduating, and it's always a mixed feeling of, oh, I'm going to miss this place, but I'm also a little sick of this place. I need to get out of here. So mixed feelings. So I think I can relate to what a graduating student must feel when they are about to pass out. Yeah,
Fair enough. Fair
that's it.
enough. Okay, no, that's a fair answer. I mean, I see this random reel always coming onto my feed wherein it says that, these bunch of graduating students do not know that I'm going to block them as soon as I leave campus. And on the other hand, you have all these mixed feelings. I mean, you also get sort of attached to the place also, the very reason this table, I don't know if it makes any sense to anyone watching out
No,
there, but
it
even this
happens a
table
lot.
means a lot to me. Staying in the same room for, these couple of years, all of this means a lot. But Professor, now to the part of the talk show. I mean, we started on a lighter note. But can you tell us a little bit about your journey? I mean, we heard the formal introduction from me. Coming in from Rajasthan and then to being a practitioner and then to joining Jindal. What was it in the mind of Himakshi Alaria as a student to where she is today?
I don't think there was any. I don't think I had a manual or a roadmap like most of the people. I don't think I always had a checklist in place that this is what I'm going to be doing. I think I can answer your question in sequence. What how did it uh, feel like growing up in Rajasthan? I think a culturally exceptionally rich place to grow up at. The social atmosphere is significantly different from what is seen here in Haryana and Sonipat, for that matter.
Okay.
I think the atmosphere of a state university is also starkly different from how Jindal Global Law School works. But I don't think I had any checklist in place that this is what I'm going to do or that's where I'm going to land up. I think things kept coming my way, and I just
Right.
kept pursuing what I felt right at that point. I don't think I regret any of the professional decisions that I've made in retrospect, but I think it's been a very spontaneous journey, if I may say so.
Okay. So you just one thing led to another kind of a situation.
Correct.
Now we're referring to the. But एक चीज जैसे कि आपने you got the Rajiv Gandhi Scholarship also, if I'm right, right? And then you went to QMUL also. This is a question in the mind of a lot of students, and हर बार हम generally इसको conversation के बीच में लाते हैं. And I'll keep switching in Hindi and English for my viewers because generally both categories of viewers watch the show. हम generally इसको show के episode के बीच में लाते हैं, but why this decision to go to QMUL? मतलब जब आप या तो प्रैक्टिस कर रहे थे या तो आप स्टूडेंट थे, कभी आपने ये ऐसे इन्विजन कर रखा था कि हाँ मे बी later on I want to do a master's degree, or this just also happened in the way? And why the choice of London also in particular, both these questions?
Because London was cheaper than US.
Okay, that's that's a smart answer, that's a fair answer, that's a right answer. Okay,
I
okay,
mean,
yeah,
it was half as cheap as US.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Probably A because of that. I think I think Nishank, as I've already said, that the kind of exposure and the kind of exceptional set of opportunities that I see students getting at Jindal Global Law School is something that is very
Right.
surprising and new to me, and I
Yeah.
think that I honestly, even as a faculty, feel grateful when I see students getting such incredible sets of opportunities, but because half of these opportunities are not available in the state universities or public
True.
universities for that matter.
True.
So I think to answer your question, where did the decision of moving or doing my masters from London came in? I think it came in when I had gone to NLS for a research exchange internship, and I spent
Okay.
couple of months, at least a semester there on campus, and then hanging out with people who are from tier one law school, it shapes your mind. What are their prospective goals? How do they see the legal profession? Have they compartmentalized it into boxes as much as any stage, law school does?
Right.
For us, when I was in University of Rajasthan, the atmosphere, as I've said, was socially, politically, and educationally very starkly different from what is seen
Different.
and observed at uh, JGLS or
Theorem.
LLS for that
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
And I think while on one hand people were hyper fixated on cracking judicial service examinations and becoming judges and acquiring those positions of authority,
Yeah.
I don't think that I ever sort of romanticized being a judicial magistrate in my
Yeah.
head. I was clear
Right.
about not wanting to doing certain things more than I
Right.
had clarity about what I exactly
What
want.
to do? Yeah.
Exactly. So I think spending a couple of months on NLS campus really shaped my outlook and helped me envision my masters a little better. I always knew that I had to be pursuing my masters with a scholarship because of plenty of reasons. But I think yes, I right after my graduation, I decided to practice for a year and figure out if I can go for a master's or not. But I was
Okay.
certainly clear about what do I not want to do more than what I exactly wanted.
Okay. So that like work like in the method of elimination है ना कि पांच चीजें हैं तीन नहीं करनी है तो दो बचती हैं उसमें से मैं देख लेती हूँ kind of a situation. Fair enough. Professor, but like my question again to the fact that QMUL, I understand, cost is a very serious factor. I'm glad that you even mentioned it in a humorous way. बहुत realistic बात है. There is, in fact, a lot of people have this issue. जो करना चाहते हैं चाहे वो स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटीज से हो या टियर वन law school से it does not matter, money is a big issue. But apart from the fact, when we make the choices, right, even in London or across anywhere in England, to say for that matter, or anywhere in the world, Germany might have been also a cheaper option, XYZ, whatever it is. जब आप चूज करते हो किसी लॉ स्कूल को, कोई बच्चा अगर इसको देख रहा है and they want to sort of choose their sort of LLM for a law school, what are the factors that you keep in mind? Is it your skill set, the kind of courses that you want to pursue, or what exactly is the ROI for that university? क्या चीजें हैं आप जो दिमाग में रखते हो?
I think Nishant, for me, there was just simple two things that I had in my mind. I had narrowed down my options of countries that I wanted to go to, and
Okay.
I think it was either the States or the UK.
Okay.
UK, because of very conventional reasons that we've derived most of our sets of laws from that
Correct.
country, so many other
Correct.
ways, etc. And I really wanted to see how the conventional civil courts in the UK look like. And on the other hand, I also had this in my mind that I would want to see how partially elected judiciary and a concept of jury looks like, because that's all
Right.
I knew at that point in time.
Right.
Ki,
Right.
okay, maybe the adversarial component in the judiciary of the US is not as predominant as it is in the UK. Uh,
UK.
उसके बाद में I think I had narrowed down what subjects I wanted to study.
अच्छा.
And I
Okay.
I think I was never a international law person. I think I was
Okay.
never an IP person. I don't think I so I wasn't a law and tech person. I think I'm a very conventional dal chawal, if I may say so,
Right. Right.
of a legal practitioner, very
Right.
clear on which subjects I wanted to study, which was either
Right.
something related to litigation or something
Right.
related to constitutionalism, or
Yeah.
maybe criminal justice. Not even human rights for that matter. And there were very few universities who were actually offering criminal specializations. QM was
Right.
one of them.
Right.
Um, I think UCL was offering a course which was called litigation and dispute resolution, and then
Right.
Cambridge had MSc in criminology. So
Right.
these were my top picks. I think I had also considered a couple of courses in LSE. So I didn't actually apply with a lot of universities. So
Right. Right.
states I had eliminated completely from my picture because I knew that this can be an expensive charade and this can be an
Right.
expensive affair. So I had completely eliminated that out of my list. I was left with a couple of universities, if I may say so. Maybe hardly three or four unis. I just stick to that. I applied to those unis. I ended up getting into three out of five, and then I picked human.
Okay, okay. That's very specific. Thank you so much for going into the details also. And I like the fact, जैसे आपने comparison draw किया, the fact that you had some sort of a clarity. Also, like scholarships also play a certain kind of a role in the kind of money that you're investing in such places. And I think coffee, common sense, or constitutional law and criminal law बहुत सारी चीजें solve कर देती हैं. So the fact that you say that you are, the dal chawal type of lawyer, I mean, it still sort of works for a lot of people. Also, the fact that you've mentioned dal chawal now, you mentioned the kind of practice that you've done earlier. Why this idea of, so a lot of people that come in, and I feel there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody has their own sort of destination and journey that they want to head to. A lot of the people that I have also studied from, or I see scholars that have developed over time, have taken academia as their single role. So, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But the idea is that, you complete your law school, you do a master's, you've either done your PhD, and then you come back to, let's say, a good college like maybe Jindal Global Law School, or for any college for that matter, and then you go on to teach, and you develop a sense of working in the research space, or for publications, or group projects, or whatever it is. You have a different road. Very, very, one of my fundamental reasons why I invited you for this show is this, that you have been a practitioner, you have practiced for a while, and then you made this switch to the academic space. First, tell me how your experience was in terms of the practical space. And I don't want to say just for the women or XYZ, वो बहुत हो गया, और वो बातें भी बहुत पीछे छूट गई. But in general, आपको practice करते हुए, what was your exposure, what was your experience, and then finally आपने कब decide किया कि चलो हिमाक्षी, maybe now is the time कि I want to sort of take my career to a different trajectory, or I want to bind it in with the academics part, या फिर आपको बस बच्चे पसंद हैं, like kids like me, and you were like, chalo, let's come to Jindal Global Law School. No, but yeah, in all seriousness.
So I think, Nishant, to answer your question, how did my experience in litigation look like? Um, I don't want to get into those mainstream debates of how the profession is a little gendered, as you've said that all those discussions have been done and dusted. Um,
Right.
I think if you're going, if especially if you're a first generation lawyer,
Right.
irrespective of your gender, if you're going to step into the field and if you're going to step into the profession, I think it's an exceptionally demanding profession. And if I may say so, I recently had an impeccable opportunity of interacting with senior advocate Dr. Menaka Guruswamy because I had invited over for a guest lecture. And that is when she said that, especially when you're a first generation lawyer, the first evaluation with respect to your career that you should be making should at least be after 10 years of sincere practice. That is when you should sit down and evaluate whether you've done something at all or not. It shouldn't be before that. So I wouldn't really say that I have conventionally practiced. The first 2 years
Right.
of practice were majorly as a party in person, a curious student who was in a fourth or fifth year of law school, and then I
Right.
practiced as an advocate only for a year, from the
Right.
year 2021 to 22, before I
Right.
have gone for my masters. I don't think I have a very rich experience, but I can
Right.
most definitely say that it's as demanding and as challenging and as experimental and as encouraging as any other profession is.
Profession can get. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
100%. And I think with litigation, a lot of people, realistically and practically speaking, a lot of people have misconstrued the profession to be a profession where you need to exhibit your oratory skills or you have to be an exceptional debater. So I know it for a fact that a lot of judges, and if I can be very specific, and if I can quote, I think Justice Sanjeev Khanna very recently said that some of the most formidable senior counsels or some of the most formidable lawyers that they have heard or who've argued before them could not raise their voice beyond a decibel. So your arguments just need to have substance and merit in it, rather than theatrics or a specific skill set of oration that which is, I don't think that that is required. And if at all this is a perception in youngsters mind out there, I don't think you should be hyper fixated on working on your speech skills or your delivery skills. It's the merit in your argument and it's the substance in your argument that's going to sail you through. And I think as much as any other profession is evolving, so is litigation. I've seen judges who've been so kind and who've prioritized you because you are a junior, and they will let you speak at length over a senior counsel, as senior as solicitor general or an additional solicitor general for that matter. So if you do make sense, and if you have legal merits, or even for that matter factual merits in the arguments that you're making, the judiciary is highly acceptable
Right.
towards it. And I think, don't step into courtrooms with a preconceived notion of, oh, this is an exceptionally challenging profession. Sure, you're going to have your sets of challenges. I don't think anybody should be stepping into courtrooms with a preconceived notion of, oh, for the first 3 years all I'll have to do is take adjournments and take passovers. No, that's not how it works.
Okay.
If you really are courageous, if you're really audacious enough, and if you are extremely I don't know, amicable in your approach towards the bench, you will 100% get an opportunity and prioritization over any other senior counsel in the courtroom, because the judges are cognizant and acknowledging of the fact that the youngsters might be having a difficult time on the other side of the bench.
That
So
is so true.
yeah, stick
That's
to.
so true. No, and the fact, I mean, you can please carry on, but to the fact that obviously, you need to improve the quality of your arguments. If I just raise my voice, I mean, how long or how far is it gonna get me anywhere? People don't, when they listen to like hundreds of cases every day, you don't want somebody to be irritating the hell out of you while you're, sitting on the other side of the bench. So, like you said, like the merit and the sense of the substance of the argument. Yeah, please carry on. Uh,
No, Nishank, it's not just about style of arguments or speech of arguments, or raising your voice beyond a certain decibel. It's not just that. I think the one very strong message that I would want to convey through this platform is that please don't step into courtrooms with a preconceived notion of all you have to do is take passovers and adjournments for the initial couple of
right,
years. That's what junior lawyers do. No,
right.
please, gone are the days when this used to happen. If you really think that there's a merit and substance to the arguments that you're going to be presenting before the bench, please have that kind of confidence and please have that kind of appeal in your submissions, and the bench is 100% going to be cognizant of it. I know it for a fact. The judges are very considerate. They're not there to discourage you, they're there to encourage you as much as as much as they can.
Right. Right. And I'm sure there must be a few cases here and there. I mean, but exception is not really the example in that sense, right? Very correctly put out, Professor. Also, this also sort of ties into our question as to why then you made the decision to sort of switch into academia. But to the fact that we are still on the practical side of things, let's just clear out the air more on that part. So when we say that, in not only in terms of argument or the kind of orator it is, written submissions, drafting, in fact, is such an important part, right? Not a lot of people have an exposure to the drafting part of things. I mean, I met you through the DPC class, so this is quite a irony in that sense. But then the fact that drafting is such an important and essential element. And when you started drafting, I've seen your sort of petitions also that you've circulated amongst us, or the fact that you filed for made bail applications and all of that. What is that fundamental that goes into understanding the nuances of drafting coming in from law school, right? Because law school in itself does not really prep you for you cannot just see a sample and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. There are a lot of nuances to understanding what a different kind of a bench wants, or maybe what a higher court wants, right? In that sense. So how did you get the grasp of drafting of some fundamentals before you started filing all these applications?
I think in most of the law schools during the span of entire 5 years, you're taught not to plagiarize. but that is exactly what you're doing when you're drafting. Like, look at a
Yeah.
bunch of PILs, or look at a bunch of writ petitions or bail applications, and then substitute names. That's the easiest approach, or the most mechanical approach that
Right.
is taken up by a lot of senior advocates. Speaking of myself, I think this is exactly what I did. I used to sit with a pile of documents which were very very similar to each other. If there was
Yeah.
a civil writ petition that I had to work on, I will sit with at least 10 writ petitions, and I'll see what are the defects that have been pointed out by the registry, and I'll try to make sure that I don't repeat those mistakes in the writ that
Right.
I'm going to be submitting. But never once in the history has it ever happened that the registry has not called me out and asked me to correct my defects. I used to be
Right.
on my toes when I had to clear defects and all.
राइट राइट तो अगर फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे कि कल को इफ वी मी एंड यू आर opposing counsels, right? And see, I am starting out, let's say I'm starting out in this profession, I file XYZ things. The fact that the other person is more experienced, and I know for a fact that you've gone against a lot of experienced people, you don't have to name them, we can also talk about the designation, that would also do. But the fact कि उससे भी कितना सीखने मिलता है जो भी स्टार्ट आउट कर रहे हैं उनको, हाउ is that an important element to the fact of learning?
I think this can come across as a little contradictory to what I said initially. And I was also speaking to a very dear friend of mine this morning, and I was telling them that I saw this meme on Instagram today, which had two pictures of chairs. So one of these
Right,
chairs was very beautifully carved with wooden details, etc. on it,
right,
and the other chair was just a chair. And
right,
below it, it was written that the chair, which was beautifully carved with niche intricacies of details, designing, etc., it was experience, and then the chair
mm,
that was just chair, which was knowledge.
right,
So I think you can be a sharp, you can be a really sharp as razor brain, you can be an
yeah,
exceptionally intelligent person with a great legal acumen, but I think certain things come with experience, certain
right,
things that you are going to find extremely difficult or extremely challenging might be a daily course of affair for someone else who's had an experience of 25 years. And I've
right,
first-hand witness of this. So,
right,
I mean, I didn't know that the registry is going to point out defects if I have not marked the pages correctly in the index column of my writ petition.
right,
Whereas that is the job that these experienced senior counsels are going through on a daily basis. They don't even pay attention to it. They will find it embarrassing if the registry points out a defect on their index, let alone paying attention to it. So I
right,
was so young and I was so fresh that I thought that this is such a humongous task. And then when I looked at those chambers, I realized that I don't really think so. This is not a huge task, maybe. So I
right,
most definitely, I think when you get to argue. So, firstly, I think I always considered myself very lucky that I have gotten to argue against these people with such rich experience of practice who've been arguing and contesting and presenting their submissions before the court for, I don't know, last 25 years.
right,
And they'll come up with certain conventional sayings such as, you know, that I have practiced for more years than you were born, etc.
yeah,
Like, oh
yeah,
sure, nothing new
yeah,
that I'm hearing. uh,
right,
but I think you get to learn so much with the ease with which they present their submissions, yeah, Nishank.
right,
I don't think they're jittery, they're
yeah,
anxious, they are over contemplating their submissions in their heads before they are showing up before the
right,
court, before the bench. I think they've mastered and garnered some sort of stillness which is so much needed before you present your arguments, because you
that's
can
true.
keep burying your head amongst the documents and going through each and every page of the writ petition, and you can
Mhm.
still sort of fumble when you are actually presenting your submissions. And then you will notice some sort of calm and some sort of stillness amongst a person who is far more experienced than you are. And it just flows. It's extremely swift and smooth, and they'll shred
Yeah,
you into pieces with their submissions that they're going to be making, and it comes with so much ease. So I think I genuinely consider myself fortunate to have gone through that process of getting grilled by someone as senior with maybe, I don't know, 25 years of experience.
Absolutely. And that's a beautiful quality to have also, no, not to panic, because like for law school, I know of a lot of students, if panicking was productive, they would have a PhD by now. Whether it's with relating to, last minute submissions, or just the exam tomorrow, or whatever it is, last moment preparation. How will I finish this? How will I finish that? Let's get done with answers. So that's a very sort of a important quality also to have, the patience, the sense of calm that you said. This, I mean, they can shred your arguments into pieces just by the way of staying and maintaining all of these qualities, staying calm and maintaining all of these qualities. That's very beautifully put out, Professor. But yeah, now to the part, now to the switch. And I'm sure this is very interesting for a lot of people, because I have seen a bunch of people who, at least, even though they want to go into academia, at some point want to practice for a few years, though you humbly put out that you did not conventionally practice up until, let's say you've practiced for 10 years or whatever the number is. But then even for the matter, the fact that you have practiced this switch, where did this idea come from? Did you feel bored of the courts? Or was it like, no, no, I want to get into this academic space. I think I have started really enjoying all of this scholarly readings or publications? Or is it like dealing with students? What exactly transpired this change from the courtroom to the classroom?
I think Nishank, more than the students, or more than the research, or more than the conventional academic aspects, I think the kind of colleagues that I've gotten on JGLS campus, yeah, I mean, such incredible, exceptional critical thinkers with books and journals and endless publications in their names. And when you find them so grounded, doing effortless hand holdings for you, and then you see them as nothing short of an absolute piece of art delivering another art to students. And I am actually then able to make that assessment as to, wow, why are these students so exceptional? Because they are being taught by these exceptional faculty members. And not only are they exceptional faculty members, they are also exceptional colleagues. And I think in a span of 1.5 years of my little, I don't know, academic career here in Jindal Global Law School, I think the kind of faculty members or the colleagues that I've worked with, yeah, such exceptional brains, and the sheer contributions that they've made, even though they're not as explicit as wearing your robes and gowns and presenting arguments before the courtrooms, and not as if I got bored of being before the courts, but I don't know. I'm just always in awe of the kind of legal acumen that these people have, and the kind of mastery that they have, the kind of hold that these people have over a bunch of 120 students, and everyone, nobody is zoned out. I mean, sure, if it is a post lunch class and people have just had their lunch, most of them are going to get zoned out. But let's say if it's a 11 to 1 class and that professor is speaking, I have legit seen 70 odd people doing nothing but paying attention to what the other person's saying. And I don't think you get to witness that kind of work atmosphere or that kind of work culture anywhere else but in academia. In all honesty, I would want to admit it.
Okay. Okay. We've been to different classes, Professor. So I have different takeaways. No, but also, big disclaimer, Jindal does not sponsor this show. It's just the fact that we both share a common ground with Jindal. She's a professor and I'm a student. And so this is an independently run talk show. No, but the fact that it's true. You have some of the best minds, not just in the country, but from abroad. The fact that the kind of faculty that I had seen at the time of taking admission into Jindal was just crazy. Like if I meet peers across
Yeah.
national law schools, and that is something that I have to give to Jindal. But my understanding of this transition is okay. So I get that you like JGLS, and JGLS is a good place. Very reason why I also chose it as a law college. But the fact that this transition, I'm just talking about the transition in itself, right? आप अपने से before getting into JGLS, was
Hmm.
it JGLS? Is JGLS the reason why you switched Or were there other reasons, like let's say if I'm practicing today in the Delhi High Court, or
Hmm.
10 years down the line in the Supreme Court. And to give you an example, I had Sasmit Patra come in over the talk show. He is a member of parliament, and at times he would come and teach us at Jindal. He'd teach something called Law, Politics, and Society, and this is such a beautiful elective, beautiful course, because it covered the fundamentals of the practical aspects of how law works beyond the lines, right? What goes into the minds of a parliamentarian. And then I see you here, who's somebody who's practiced on ground, again, not the 10 years, but still you practice on ground. And then you sort of make this switch to academia. So whether
Yeah.
it's Jindal or for, let's say, tomorrow, if Oxford calls you or XYZ, whatever it is there something about academia in general that you like, or, you'd say that probably this is the reason why I chose academia? And, Nishank, that is the reason why I made this switch to JGLS.
So, Nishank, I this is what I earlier used to think, that there's a stark gap or disparity between theory and practice, as we were discussing earlier. Um, I think I was in some sort of bubble for thinking that. And when you run into academic places like, be it QM for that matter, or Jindal for that matter, is when you realize that their pedagogical techniques or their pedagogical methods are so sound and advanced in their own ways that it sort of tries to eliminate that difference
That
between
difference.
theory and practice.
Absolutely.
And I think
Absolutely.
I stepped into academia with only, I think, this limited ideology in my head, or with this limited line of thought that probably I can help a lot of youngsters like me who had absolutely no clue as to how to, get into courtrooms or work into litigation, or maybe corporate law firms for that matter. I have my fair share of experiences through internships, etc. So maybe uh, try speaking to a bunch of young minds and see where it goes, and figure out and evaluate whether there is an actual gap between theory and practice. And I genuinely do think that while there is some gap in theory and practice, I also very strongly think that law schools like, uh, I don't know. Maybe, as I said, that law schools like QM or Jindal, or the tier one law schools for that matter, the pedagogical methods and approaches that they've adapted are so profoundly sound that the gap is almost eliminated in comparison to other students that you're going to have encounters with when you're actually going to step into the profession. So, to answer your question, speaking of the transition in and of itself, I think this was my major reason for inclination towards academia, because I thought that maybe there's a gap between theory and practice, and let's see how that, we can, yeah, maybe fix that, if that's the right word.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there was just a little bit of lip syncing that was going on. So आप जो बोल रहे थे और आपकी movements थोड़ी सी different थी, but ठीक है. I think the audience will get this part, and that's the part about shooting online. ये सब चीजें होती रहती है. I'm glad वो video blackout नहीं हुई, because all of a sudden I lost my focus and I was like ये क्या हो रहा है? आप बोल रहे हो बट आवाज मुझे पहले आ जा रही. Okay, but yeah, very important in the sense that tier one law schools Jindal, but I still believe I differ a little bit here in the sense that the gap is not there. हम बहुत ही privileged background से शायद बात कर रहे हैं. अगर हम जिंदल से बात कर रहे हैं या tier one law school से बात कर रहे हैं, most law colleges in India, and I can say this very bluntly, the situation is pathetic. And if anybody wants to take offense, they can. I've been working with law students since my first year, and forget about giving internships or learning the basics of fundamentals. The kind of professors that are there, the kind of teaching that is being imparted to the students is not really, I mean, it's not really to the extent of even understanding what is there in the basics of these acts, right? So that is something that is fundamentally flawed. And the fact that we pay lakhs and lakhs of fees to be in a college like Jindal, or even for tier one law schools, that is something money wise which is a huge factor in terms of law colleges across India. But I get your point. You're making a very important point in the sense that there have been colleges. आप QMUL की बात कर रहे हो, जिंदल की बात कर रहे हो, ये कांस्टेंट जो गैप है, लोग जो इसमें आ जाते हैं, people like you try to find ways to sort of bridge it. And I like the fact how you sort of beautifully tied your answer from coming from that practical perspective to then again sort of tying it to the academic part of things. Professor, is there a particular reason why you would feel that कि मैं अगर ये नहीं कर रही होती, जिससे कि अगर फॉर एग्जांपल अब अकेडमिया में नहीं होते, वुड यू स्टिल वांट टू कंटिन्यू विथ योर प्रैक्टिस, या फिर आप कोई और अदर लॉ ऑप्शंस देखते हो स्टूडेंट्स के लिए भी? यू कैन आल्सो प्रिस्क्राइब इट फॉर द स्टूडेंट्स. So we see there are some conventional options that are there, and you already said I'm dal chawal kind of liar, whatever it is. But conventional options के beyond भी, now that you have a sort of an experience with the kind of faculty that is here, आप इतने लोगों से मिल चुके हो, people
Mhm.
come in as guest lecturers. What do you think like are like the other conventional options? अगर हिमाक्षी अलारिया आज जिंदल ग्लोबल लॉ स्कूल में नहीं पढ़ा रही होती, इन द आंसर कैन नॉट बी कि मैं अदर लॉ कॉलेज में पढ़ा रही होती. इफ you were not teaching here, teaching is not the profession you were into, would you continue to be a practitioner, or is there any other profession you feel would be apt for you?
Okay, so I think Nishank, I would like to answer your question in two prongs. First things first, I think this is what I used to think when I was in final year of law school, that maybe I want to have the most dal chawal approach in my legal profession. But see, as you explore things, and as you actually step into the field and you gain experiences, your brain sort of opens up, and then you become open to a lot of prospects and experimenting with your profession, etc., if that's the right word, and if I may say so. But to answer your question, firstly, if I was not, if it was not for me to be in academia, what else I would have been doing? So I think this reminds me of I think I'm quoting a lot of persons, but people, but I think I'm not able to resist here. I think it reminds me of Justice MC Chagla, and he in one of his articles has very rightly said that no success feels like success than a success in litigation. So
Okay.
so
Okay.
I think and I also genuinely think that there are certain kinds of lawyers, if I may say so. How
True.
extraordinary and exceptional lawyer do you strive to become is, at the end of the day, a completely personal choice. So if it
Right.
wasn't for me to be in academia, I don't think I even have a second thought. I for sure,
Litigation.
yes, I think I for sure
100%.
litigating, and I think I still would have paid a lot of focus, or I mean, I would have paid a lot of heed to my academic journey as well. I would have probably planned a second master's or a
Okay.
PhD, or
Okay.
maybe, because I see there are only few lawyers who are going to argue jurisprudence for a couple of for a couple of minutes
Right.
before the Supreme Court, right? But
Right.
you know what are those lawyers who are arguing jurisprudence before the Supreme Court of India?
Right.
So you can
Right.
argue as many bail matters, or you can argue as many conventional matters. You can do as many NCLT or DRT practices in your routine litigation course of practice,
True.
and
True.
there's nothing wrong about it. But I don't think I would have wanted to limit myself there. I think I would also want to be a lawyer one day who gets to argue jurisprudence, or I don't know. I mean,
I
jurisprudence.
love this answer. I like how bubbly and cheery and positive all of a sudden you've gotten
Sorry.
talking about litigation. No, I was also really fascinated with the fact that you started talking about litigation and your eyes just started to glow, and whether it's jurisprudence. Yeah, but I get the fact.
No,
It's a
I mean,
very, yeah.
very conventional. I'm sorry to have interrupted you, Nishang, but I think I'm a little passionate about this. But I think so there are lawyers who will be arguing certain very pressing and urgent matter before the Supreme Court for 2 minutes, and they'll have to just get done with their submissions. And then there are lawyers who are going to discuss how Albi Sachs was subjected to a bomb blast when he was having a drink at a British bar. So
Right.
you need to be at a stature to make those kind of submissions before the court. So
Right.
I
Right.
think I for sure, and you need to be an exceptional academic for that. You need to be an
Right.
exceptional uh, person of eminence for that, for
Right.
me to
Right.
be
Right.
able to make those kind of
Right.
submissions. And
Right.
what better way to bring that out other than academia? I really don't think there's any other better way of
I
bringing it.
think by now I have done like, I don't know, but 4 or 5 years of shooting, and I've asked this question, shooting as in I'm talking about the show. Yeah, and I've asked this question to multiple people, and I always used to think of something very similar to this is the answer, but even I don't think I would have been able to put it out so beautifully. I think this is hands down one of the best answers to this question. The blend, the fact that people say that they've made the shift, they talk about their past, and how the present sort of seems to be focused in academia. But the fact that even the very reason I asked this question was that if we ever were to sort of go back to litigation or run it back with litigation, the kind of academic sort of a mindset, all of these eminent lawyers, and I mean, even if I had to take names, but for that matter, let's not. But whether it's LLMs or their PhDs, you'll see they have great academic qualifications.
Right.
They're very skilled professionals, and they did academically very good, right? And that's one of the reasons why they also stand out in the courtroom, probably, right? It's a very fundamental part of how you build onto yourself, especially in a field like law. And since you've quoted a lot of people today, Professor, any particular article, book, or anything that was close to your height? Were you someone who was into reading? आप मूवी शोज ज्यादा देखते थे या रीडिंग ज्यादा देखते थे? बहुत ज्यादा टेक्निकल बातें हो गई हैं, थोड़ा सा पेस चेंज कर देते हैं, एंड probably we'll also move towards concluding this sort of episode, but yeah.
Okay, Nishank, just before I answer your question about the books or the
Yeah.
music movie series, I think I have there's just one last remark that I would
Yeah.
want to add to the previous question. I really genuinely don't think that legal practice can be separated from academia. You can look at the legal history of our country. You can name
Right.
some of the brilliant brains of the current
Right.
legal
Right. Right.
profession, and you will find people who are at the top of their game are exceptional academics first and anything and everything else later. So I think this
Right.
was also one of the major reasons me getting it behind me switching on to this transition. And what better place than
Right.
JLS for that?
Jindal.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it's not sponsored by Jindal, but
Yeah,
yes.
I guess not by the yeah.
No, absolutely well put. I mean, to be fair, in terms of the kind of research faculty and all of that we have, we can take a lot of pride in saying that we are definitely amongst one of the top law colleges, not just in India, across Asia. The fact that I also had a sort of a short stint with UIUC back in the United States, and I could draw a comparison and feel that, maybe I am studying at least with a par university back in my home country. So that is something that stays with us. But Professor, yeah, to this question again, like, firstly, are you somebody who's more into movies, series, stories, or is there a book? So, like, when I started out, I had the beautiful chance to meet Fali sir, Mr. Fali S. Nariman, late Fali S. Nariman, and then I would say that make library your best friend. Okay, so I sort of started reading a lot initially in my first 2 years, to say so very honestly. Since the third year, I became a bit more mischievous, and I started taking on more entrepreneurial projects. I stopped reading a little bit, but I mean, I still sort of want to catch up with that part. But is it one book that you would? Is there any book per se that you would? And for shows, I mean, don't say Suits. Because some people have said that, not Suits. If anything else that sort of ties in into this, beautiful part or profession of being a lawyer, or that has been very close to you.
I think if someone's very if someone's very interested in knowing how the grassroots of the legal profession in our country works, then I think Mamla Legal Hai is a very good show on Netflix. You
Okay.
can watch that. I think I related to that show a lot.
Okay.
So much grounded. I think I have not seen a more grounded series when it comes to law. I am not giving you recommendations. Go watch Criminal Justice UK. Go watch Criminal Justice India Suits. No, go watch Mamla Legal Hai. I think. And to answer your question further, I think Nishank, I don't think I'm a movie person. I would not call myself a voracious reader. I think I used to have this little Saregama karma on me. I still have my Saregama karma on me, and I think
Okay.
I'm more of a retro music person, or
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that probably is the best pastime for me.
If I
My
may, why do you say you related to like Mamla Legal hai? Like, you like the little nuances in terms of real life experiences that they show comically, or
I think
any
I've
particular? Yeah. Oh, is it? Just a second, just a second. Just give me a minute. I'm so sorry. Uh, yeah, is this better now? I'm
Yes.
so sorry. I'm so sorry. I was just trying to switch in between two operating systems. Glad that it has happened on the part of the host also. Good way to sign off from Jindal. Yeah, but anything particularly that sort of interests you about Mamla Legal, and then we'll sort of draw a conclusion to this episode where I ask you to compliment me, and then we end the episode. Yeah.
Uh, Anything specific from Mamla Legal है?
हाँ मतलब अगर आपको ऐसे आपने बोला लाइक लिटिल नुआंसेस जैसे वो कोर्ट पे दिखाते हैं जिस टाइप की लोग रहते हैं आई हैव सीन सम बिट्स एंड पीसेस आई हैव नॉट had the time
No,
to watch
I
the show.
mean very little things like this. One woman walks out of her E class. She's a fresh
Okay.
Harvard graduate and looks for a
Yeah.
chamber with her documents in her hand.
Correct.
Goes to the president's office. Where may I get my chamber? This is
Yeah. Okay.
outrageous, preposterous. And then this person was like, "Oh my God, she speaks such good English. Why don't you write an article for me?" So I think
Yeah. Okay. Fair
really
enough. I
writing,
thought so.
and then that
Uh,
person uses that article to contest bar council elections. So I think it's very well put.
Oh, I'm so
So,
sorry. Yeah. No. Okay.
another
Uh,
snippet that I can maybe recollect from the show was um, when this peon of the court premises is asked to dress up as a monkey so that he can
okay.
scare away the other
My God. I'm not
monkeys that
watched this.
create
I'm
nuisance
glad I
on
haven't watched this.
premises. So it's a violation of human rights and human dignity. So
Damn.
well portrayed
Okay. Fair.
in it.
Fair enough. I like how this show went from all intellectual, classy, to finally ending with a monkey, and then Mamla legal. Hai. No, I hope my thing is not. Is it hanging now? Also, no. Perfect. Yeah, great. Okay, so that is it. I don't have any more questions for you. We'll just take a very short of a last comment for you on this show, on the format of the show, and for the people. Any last message that you have? I was just joking. You don't have to compliment me. Any last message that you also have for the people here? And before we get to that, I feel that through her work, Professor Himakshi Alaria, through your work in courtrooms, classrooms, and every space in between, I think you remind us that law isn't about books and briefs. Even this conversation, I like the fact that your eyes just glowed up when you started talking about litigation. I feel it's a lot about your heart and voice. And as filmy as it sounds, as irrational as it sounds to someone who's sitting out there, कि ये क्या बातें हैं, कि heart and voice से क्या होता है, monetary aspect है, all the things are there. At the end of the day, everyone at some point of their time and lives have started from somewhere. And if you're starting out, I mean, through this platform, my best wishes are with you. And let's be honest, when someone makes both litigation and legislation sort of also with academia look this effortless, it's hard not to be impressed with you on the show. And I feel the open floor was always about finding voices that make you stop, listen, and maybe blush a little bit also. And then this conversation, I think, hits the brief of why I started this talk show. I thank you for bringing your wit, wisdom in a kind of calm confidence. And I think as a sign off this final episode from Jindal, I leave with nothing but gratitude. But that is to my last part. Once your conclusion ends, one sort of your concluding remark ends. Professor, your last concluding remarks on the show for the students. Any message that you have?
I think you're doing an incredible job trying to convey messages to people out there who might actually be looking out for credible or maybe information that they can rely on. I think I'm no gyani yaar. I think I'm no experienced person. I'm not the best person who can sit here and give you a lot of fundas that are going to ease in out your life, etc. But I think it's okay if you haven't figured out what you want to do. I think most of us didn't know what we wanted to do, and I think I still don't know what I want to do when I look at the larger picture of my profession and all of that. I think you are also fine as long as you're clear what you not want to do. So I mean, I don't think you have, especially for people who are graduating or who are in their final year of law school, don't just sit down and panic or maybe feel worried or anxious about the fact that what are you going to do. You will figure something out. This is something that I um, say to almost everyone, that even if you don't know what you want to do, you're fine. At least you know, unless you know what you don't want to do. And I think you're fine even if you know, if you don't know what you don't want to do. So yeah. And as far
It's
as
like,
the show
yeah.
is concerned, Nishank, I think a very well put together professional platform encouraging people to participate, and uh, credible information that people can actually rely on. And kudos to you. Good job done, I think. It's a pleasure to be here.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you. We just edit this part out and we play this. Leave the show aside. We just play this part as a highlight. We run it in the reels. No, that's about it. Thank you so much, Professor. It was wonderful having you on the show. I already heaped on a lot of compliments before you sort of, made your concluding remarks. And I feel like I was saying as I sign off with this final JGLS episode, I leave with nothing but gratitude. And I feel until next time, this is Nishank smiling a little extra today with Professor Himakshi Alaria. Thank you so much for everyone who watched this show, joined the show, and I hope you had a great time. If you want to reach out, do not spam her LinkedIn comments or anything like that. Please be very respectful. You can always reach out to her via us. You can tag us in the comment sections, or you could also message me if you watch the show directly. You will also have my email ID and a little bit of her bio in the description in the YouTube channel as and when it goes public. And that's about it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Professor. It was wonderful having you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.